Welcome back, mamas. Y'all, today we are going to talk about alignment, how to achieve it, what that even really means. I always talk about aligned flow, and we're going to talk about how to get that in our mom lives. So let's get to it. Do you wish you had control of your days, that you had a rhythm, but instead feel overwhelmed, scattered, and like there's never enough time? You're in the right place. I'm Danielle, a recovering workaholic, wife, and stay-at-home mom of 2 girls. I've learned how to reclaim my time and find purpose and freedom so I can be present with my kids and feel like myself again. Here, we embrace where we are, but we don't stay there. So if you're ready to trade the chaos for clarity, the guilt for grace, and the endless to-do list for aligned flow, grab the kiddos a snack and toss in that laundry because I know you're multitasking, and let's do this because your time, your purpose, and you matter. Okay, mamas. So today I want to talk to you about alignment. If you listened to the podcast last week, you know we talked about JOMO. The joy of missing out. It was something I had never heard of before, but I talk about it often, and I didn't even realize what it was or why it would be so important to us as moms. But I understand it now, and I hope you do too. And we really talked about kind of 3 ways that you would be able to experience JOMO, that you would be able to experience it in your life because you want to, as a mom, have joy from missing out on things because we know that as moms, we are so busy. We need to be able to stay in our lane. We need to be able to do what we know we need to do for us as moms and be happy for everyone else who is doing their thing, right? Who is staying in their lane, who is, enjoying whatever they're enjoying. And we need to be able to have that joy, feel it, and know that it is with us no matter if we are missing out on something or not, because we know we're not truly missing out. We are actually choosing what is important to us at this moment in time. I mentioned last week that there are truly like 3 ways that you can really take advantage or really get this joy, really experience this joy and this fulfillment in your life. And really, honestly, be okay with what everyone else is doing and not feel that FOMO, that fear of not doing what everyone else is doing because you know that you're content in what you're doing, okay? And the first way to do that is to really get clear on what is important to you and why. To really get clear on being in alignment, being in aligned flow, like taking the time to evaluate. It's exactly what I talk about on the podcast. It's literally the foundation of everything we do on the podcast in my coaching program. It's where we start, right? We figure out what's important to us and why. And the way that we do this is first to kind of take an inventory in our lives of what feels out of alignment. Where do we feel out of alignment? What feels in alignment and what also feels out of alignment? And when we tune into those things that are kind of feeling out of alignment, those places where we are feeling more stressed, more overwhelmed, more, almost this resistance of being able to enjoy what we feel like we should be able to enjoy, what we may have enjoyed in the past, what we might again enjoy in the future. But for some reason, it feels really out of alignment. Maybe we don't realize it's out of alignment. Maybe we just aren't happy. We're just sitting there unsettled, overwhelmed, kind of with all of these emotions that we don't want to have, but we don't really understand why we are having them. And a lot of times it is because we are out of alignment. We are not operating in aligned flow, which is what I talk about all of the time, that a lot of people might refer to as balance. But if you've been listening to me anytime at all, then you probably know that I do not really like the word balance because I feel like it's unattainable. I feel like it's really not something that we are able to achieve or attain. It is not something that I believe we should strive for, this balance that a lot of people talk about, because aligned flow to me means that everything is having its time, right? Like everything is ebbing and flowing together. We have evaluated, I go through like 10 different areas of our life, right? We really get clear on what it is that we are feeling either in alignment with or out of alignment with when it comes to our physical health, our like mental and emotional health, our spiritual health, our time, role as a mom, our role as a wife, our relationships or the community that we are within, our finances, our lifestyle, and then our calling or our contribution, our impact, or whatever it is, because all of us want to make an impact, right? We all want to have a contribution in this world and in our life. And so how are we doing when it comes to that? How are we feeling about that? So I'm going to start with a quote here. This one is from Brian Tracy, and it says, just as your car runs more smoothly and requires less energy to go faster and farther when its wheels are in perfect alignment, you perform better when your thoughts, feelings, emotions, goals, and values are in balance, right? And there he is using that word balance again, but in alignment, right? When all of those things are in alignment, we feel better. And that is what we do. We get this clarity around what is important to us and why at this moment is by taking a good, hard, long look at all of those areas I just talked about, as well as then our core values, our strengths and weaknesses. Like I have this whole program that we go through so that we can build this really strong foundation and figure out what it is that we want and why. And then we go a step further and we talk about what we want for our future and why and how we get there, right? And so we talk about getting from point A to point B. Point A being where we are now, and point B being maybe somewhere else along the way. Who knows? Maybe it's point C or D of where you actually want to go. And we are going to kind of roadmap how we get there, right? This is so important. And it's something that I know from experience that I skipped. I know from experience that I didn't take the time to do this work. And that is why I was spinning my wheels. That is why I was so overwhelmed. That is why I wound up doing things that I thought would make me happy, but they didn't. That is why I gave a lot of my time, effort, energy, money in a lot of cases to things that I could have been, well spent elsewhere, right? I took a lot of time and energy away from the things that were actually important to me, trying to fill that void, right? Trying to make myself happy, trying to be a better mom. I was trying to do all of the right things, but I wound up doing things that weren't necessarily the right things for me at that time. And so that is what I want to prevent you from doing. That is what this work that I do, that is the purpose of it, is to prevent you from doing that and to show you exactly what to do instead, to get you to that path of fulfillment. And as I always talk about, the path to fulfillment, the fulfillment doesn't happen necessarily just at the destination, right? The fulfillment happens along the way. Once you have your foundation built, that is when the fulfillment is able to start occurring. You are able to be happier and more fulfilled on the daily when you have this strong foundation built and when you know where you're going, right? And so the work that we do, it might take a while to actually accomplish what you want to or what you think you want to do, right? But what happens is we figure out how quickly you can get there and what is going to be the most comfortable way for you to get there. And maybe you're so confused. Maybe you don't even know where you want to go, but that's okay too. Maybe you just feel this like itch inside of you. I know I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do. I just knew I needed something more. I didn't know what that was. And it was the getting clear and getting still and figuring out all of these things that led me to where I wanted to go, right? And so doing this work, even if you aren't sure where it is that you want to go, or even if you don't necessarily know that you even want to go anywhere, you're just like, I feel like I kind of want more, or I feel like I'm unhappy. This is the work that I promise you is going to make the difference in letting you know exactly where it is that you're meant to be, exactly where it is that you do want to go. I have another quote I wanted to read from Tony Robbins. This one says, your purpose in life is to live in alignment with your values and beliefs. Your purpose in life is to live in alignment with your values and beliefs. And I believe that when we don't really understand, or maybe those have changed, our values and beliefs have changed, and when we aren't in alignment with that anymore, we are feeling like we don't have a purpose, right? Our purpose is possibly more than just a mom, but our purpose might just be to be a stay-at-home mom right now. That might be your purpose in this particular moment. And while you may not feel like, I don't think that that is true because I don't feel right now like that is enough, once you do this work, you might actually realize that that is enough for you right now. But you're feeling out of alignment because you're living kind of with one foot in the past and one foot in the present. Or maybe you're living with one foot in the future and one foot in the present. But we need to be living with both feet firmly planted in the present, because when we're not in our present moment, it's really hard to be aligned. It's really hard to feel aligned. You feel like you're out of purpose. You're out of alignment. You're out of practice. You're out of everything, right? And so you just feel so scattered. I felt like a hot mess all of the time. And it was because I was out of alignment. This was so hard and heartbreaking, and it just knocked me into a funk. This whole feeling that I did not know what to do with, right? I went into a depression. I never thought that I would be able to even ever understand depression. I know many people, close family members of mine, that have dealt with depression their whole lives. And I could never wrap my head around it until I was in it, right? And I am so passionate about this work because I truly believe that we can become that out of whack when we don't feel in alignment. And when we get rooted, when we get clear on what it is that is important to us and why, and like I said, it was really hard for me to figure that out. And I now have developed these tools to help you so that you don't have to try to do it on your own. But this is the work that I believe will create that stability for you. It will create this place where you will be able to see, okay, what is it that I want? What is it that we need to do from here? I talked about that, JOMO and those three things. We'll talk about the other two things, but this one piece, this is the foundation. Without this one piece, there is no way that you will be able to effectively set boundaries, or, figure out where your time should be spent, or to stop the comparison, right? To really be able to follow your heart and to follow what's true to you. You will be comparing yourself to everyone because you won't have this solid rock foundation to go back to. And so this is why I believe this work is so important. I have one last quote that I want to share from you from Oprah Winfrey that says, "Find your lane, make space for the flow to show itself. Follow the natural rhythm of your life, and you will discover a force far greater than your own." Find the natural rhythm of your life. So make space for the flow. So once you find your lane, and I believe the reason that it's so hard for us moms to find our lane is because we change drastically when we become a mother. And especially for me, when I was a workaholic, right? I was someone who threw myself into my work and defined myself by my work, right? And then I become a stay-at-home mom. And now, what do I define myself by, right? I define myself by my children. However, children are very emotional, and I'm in charge of raising these children. So when you put your definition of yourself as defined by how well you're raising your children, things start to feel really out of whack because you can't be defining yourself by their happiness, right? You have to be happy on your own and fulfilled on your own. You don't want this burden of that weight of your happiness to fall on them, right? You need to be innately happy so that you can make your children happy, so that you can help them and raise them in a way where they know what's important to them and why, right? This is the work that we need to do and we need to model so that they can live the way that is going to make them happy and fulfilled, right? Because we can't be dependent on other people to make us happy. That is very unhealthy, right? And it was not healthy necessarily for me to define myself by how well I was doing at my work, right? And so I want better for you. And if you are anything like me, I don't want you to fall into this trap. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have been a workaholic. Literally every mom that I've ever talked to has struggled with this type of thing and this feeling of completely being a different person now that you're a mother, and this out of alignment feeling that we feel, and then what it spirals to, and all the burden that we take on our shoulders. And so this is why I do what I do. Please go to prioritizewithpurpose.com, check it out for yourself, sign up for a prioritization clarity call. You can figure some of this stuff out on your own. There are different tests you can take online. There are different things. I mean, I found them, right? It was hard. I took many tests. I did many of the, strengths finders and all of the different things to try to figure myself out. But I believe that I have created a program that will easily walk you through these things so that you're able to learn enough about yourself, who you are, what you want, and why, and to create this foundation and this path forward from there. And so I want that so much for you. So until Thursday, know that you're not broken. Know that it's not even your fault that you are feeling this way. Know that you are not alone. So many moms that I know, me, myself, and almost every single mom I've ever talked to has felt exactly what you're feeling in this moment. You are not alone, and you are amazing. And so I will talk to you on Thursday.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode, Mama. If so, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and then hit share and send this to a mom who needs this in her day. I'll meet you right back here next week. Keep smiling, y'all.